So, hello and welcome back to the Unforced Error. It's felt like a long time since January. So we're back for Indian Wells, as I thought I might be. So we're starting tomorrow in the desert in California. So I hope you've all been keeping well. There's been tennis going on, but I suppose this is kind of one of the bigger tournaments outside the top four, and it's more commonly being referred to now as the fifth major. And I think it's always nice when a lot of the tournaments the past couple of weeks it's not really been the same, because sometimes there's been two tournaments on the same time, whether that be men's and women's or two different on either tours. So it's great to be here. It's great to be in the desert. Well, in on watching it on TV anyway. Yeah, so we're here. It's the 7th of March, so the action will start tomorrow. The qualifying has been played the last 2 days, and the draw was made last night. And so we're about 10 past 11 here in Ireland, which makes it about 10 past 3, I reckon, in the Californian desert in the afternoon. In Australia, we were working ahead of time, and now we're working backwards. So it'll be a little bit easier to watch depending on where you are. So the main themes, I guess, as I said, this is commonly referred to as the fifth major. It's set in the Coachella Valley, just south of Palm Springs. It's a beautiful tournament. It's quite glitzy and glamorous, and the feeling is a lot of the players really like being there. But yeah, it's a beautiful setting. I know there's concerts and stuff that goes on there all year. It's an all round entertainment venue. So the headlines, I guess the main thing that's been in the news is the fact that Novak Djokovic was denied entry into the country, as he's still not vaccinated, so he won't be playing. And the other bit, I suppose, out of the other top guys, Nadal is still out with that injury that was annoying him at the Aussie Open. And yeah, so he's on the road to recovery, but he won't be playing. So they call it the Sunshine Double. So Miami is played just after Indian Wells. So he won't be doing either of them, and it'll be his first time outside the top 10 this week, due to how the seedings have worked. So it'll be his first time outside the top 10 since 2005, which is quite remarkable. If you think about the world in 2005, and you think about what it looked like, the lack of social media, who was in the charts, it's really scary to think about. And the fact that someone's been in the top 10 of any sport, of any profession, for that long is incredible. So we wish him well, and we hope to see Novak back in action soon. It's unfortunate, everything that's gone on there. But so in one way, it's welcome to the desert, welcome to the future. We're going to get a look here. Alcaraz is back, although he was suffering with injury the past couple of weeks. So we're going to have a glimpse of what tennis might be like in the coming years after Djokovic and Novak. So it's a nice treat, because we're not quite ready to say goodbye to them yet. So we might get a glimpse into the future, and for the players as well. It might be a feeling for them to get, it might be a different feeling altogether playing a tournament when there is no Novak or Nadal. I wonder if there are a different mindset. Well, Alcaraz might have something to say about that, if he goes on to dominate, as some people say he might. But anyway, I'm rambling now. I'm going to try and keep it shorter this time. I know the draws can be, there's so much to get in, there's so much to talk about, and especially since I haven't been talking to you since January. But we'll try to keep it brief. We'll go quarter by quarter, and we'll tune in either Friday or the weekend then to kind of recap. And I'm going to try a few different things this time around at the weekend, especially hoping to put together some analysis of some shots and stuff like that if I can. So I'm going to be playing around, so I hope you bear with me. But it's great to be back. I've certainly missed it. I was watching the latest Indiana Jones trailer at the weekend, and the opening line, it's a great scene. It's coming out this summer. It says, "I miss the desert, I miss the sea, and I miss waking up every morning to what wondering what wonderful adventure the new day will bring to us. So I kind of thought of the tennis when I thought of that. Maybe it was the desert or whatever. But anyway, that's for another time. So we go with the men's draw first, because I always, in its own way, I almost find it's a little more straightforward because of the chaos of how many of the top seeds and women beat each other or how open it is. So I guess the main themes. The defending champion, first of all, is Taylor Fritz. He's back, and it'll be interesting to see how the Americans go. And there's a great, for an insight, I think it's the third episode of the Netflix series that came out, was focused on his win last year and how he nearly pulled out of an injury. But it just shows it was a great intro. He played Nadal and he won, and it was a great tournament. And it's a great tournament for those type of players. Paula Badosa won 2 years ago, and she's often talked. That was a great win. I remember watching that match late at night. It was a great win for a very emotional win, but it's really propelled her career. And she's back now as well. But it's this tournament. It is cared about. It's a big money one, and as I said, a lot of the players like it, and everyone's here who's not injured or whatever. So yeah. So Taylor Fritz, there's a great line from that episode, near the end, and talk about pressure points and executing. He said, I knew that he knew that I was nervous. He knew where he was in the context of the game and Nadal. And it's a really interesting insight. So if you do get a chance, I know there's so much to watch these days, but it really does kind of paint a picture of what it's like coming up against someone who how good they are. So yeah, watch out for the Americans in general. I think that's the next team that jumps out at me. We were talking through the Aussie Open how a few young guys like Ben Shelton and kind of not so young guys, Tommy Paul, really made it deep into the tournament, and deservedly so. And Francis Tiafoe was there, and so it'll be interesting. They're back on home soil now. They'll have home support. I wonder, will they be able? And Indian Wells is a hard court as well. So hopefully, will they be spurred on by their home support and keep that kind of form going? So the three favourites are Alcaraz, Daniil Medvedev, who's found his form again, and Stefanos Tsitsipas, who was runner-up, of course, in January as well. So they'd be the main guys to look out for. So we'll go quickly quarter by quarter. I realise I'm rambling already. I'm just so excited to be back, and it's always the night before a tournament. I think there's a great buzz. I think it's just as good as some of the days of the tournament itself. You're thinking of all the different angles. But anyway, the first quarter, Carlos Alcaraz is the name to pick out, obviously. Felix Aliassime is back. Hurkacz, who's playing really well. Tommy Paul, Dan Evans, Andy Murray's in here as well. So the thing with Alcaraz, he's playing in Rio 2 weeks ago, and he lost in the final, but he was playing really well, and it was a great game. But he was suffering with a hamstring injury, and he did pull out of the tournament before this with a hamstring. But I was surprised to see he was back, but it's great, because even with his hamstring, he was still pulling off amazing shots. So it's going to be really interesting to watch him and the condition he's in. And if it's one of those things, if he can get through the first rounds easy enough, he should be able to put on a show throughout those later rounds. So this quarter, Hurkacz is playing really well as well. So watch out for him. It'll be the longer games. There's kind of all tough opponents. Dan Evans, Andy Murray, Greg Hespoor is in there as well. So it could be a lot of long games in this quarter, but I guess Hurkacz and Alcaraz are the boys to be looking out for. And as I said, Alcaraz's injury is something to look out for in the early rounds as well. So the second quarter, so we've the defending champion Taylor Fritz, Holger Rune, who I've talked about before. Really interested to see how he gets on. This draw could open up very quickly for him if he gets into it. Yannick Sinner, who's playing well, De Minaur, who's playing well, Musetti, Ben Shelton, the young American who was the first time away from home during the Aussie Open. Now it's going to be really interesting. He didn't have the best kind of interim period, but he's back on home soil now, and be really interesting, to see if he's if that wasn't a fluke. Not that it was a fluke, but can he keep that going? Is he going to play to that level all the time now? I don't know. Can you expect a young guy to be able to reproduce that time and time again? So we'll see. It'll be exciting to watch him, and he'll be entertaining to watch, that's for sure. Third quarter then, Casper Ruud will be the top seed here, and Daniil Medvedev, who's found his form, won a couple of tournaments and is one of the favourites for the tournament simply because he's found his form. We were talking ahead of the Australian Open how after that brutal loss at the Australian Open last year, how hard that was to take and for him to build that form back up again. But he certainly got into a rhythm and he's feeling confident. And as I said, without Djokovic and Nadal, for guys like him, this tournament becomes a little bit bigger and a little bit more of a test in terms of looking towards the future as well. Kachanov is in here, Bautista Agut. But yeah, I guess Medvedev is the one to watch out for. I think he's like 14 matches winning streak now. And Casper Ruud is still waiting to kind of kick into form. He didn't have the greatest start to the year, but he had a great win last year. So again, this type of tournament could suit him. It's not too in the spotlight, but he might be able to thrive under the kind of not less attention, but it could be a perfect. It kind of falls nicely. It's in March. We're just about to turn around after the Sunshine Double into the clay court season. So if he wanted to get hot for the clay court season, this would be the perfect opportunity to do so. And then finally, Stefanos Tsitsipas in the final quarter, Rublev, Cameron Norrie, Francis Tiafoe, Berrettini, Shapovalov, a very tough quarter. This and probably the second quarter, probably the most stacked. Again, it depends. Tsitsipas, how's he feeling at the Australian Open? You can be somewhat hungover even after a loss, but he's still in good form, and it'll be exciting to see how he plays. So I'm going to move swiftly along to the women's now because I know I'm going to run out of time here quick. So again, as I said, everyone is here in the women's. A lot of the top seeds in the men's are missing. Everyone is here in the women's, and in the interim between the Australian Open, it's the same thing that happens at the women's draw. Everyone is beating everyone every week, so it's going to be incredibly exciting. As you might expect, Iga Swiatek first quarter is the hot favourite, as she was in the Australian Open, as she will be in most tournaments for the foreseeable future, because when she's good, she's very good, and it would not be a surprise to anyone in tennis to see her go on a dominant streak. But as I said, an area of caution, there's so many great players here, there's nothing guaranteed. This isn't the days of Serena Williams shows up and wins tournaments without flashing an eyelid. Things are different now. So even in her quarter, you've got Andreescu, Linette, Hadid, Samorasova, Madison Keys, Leylah Fernandez, and Garcia as well. So that's definitely no walking bar, even getting out of that quarter. But she is playing well. She's won two tournaments since. She was beaten by Krejcikova last week or the week before, but 2 tournaments out of 3 isn't too bad. And as I said, she lost in the Australian Open to the eventual runner-up, who was playing the tennis of her life as well. So that's no surprise here. Garcia has had a tough run of form lately. She's made a lot of finals, but had a lot of kind of tough defeats, and it'll be interesting to see if she can kind of use this tournament to kick on, because if she could get over the line, she is playing that high caliber tennis, but the mind can start to play games when you have chances in games and you don't take them, which has happened in 1 or 2 of the finals that she's lost. But she's an outstanding player, and she's not going anywhere anytime soon, so watch out for her, and she won't be rolled over easily either. Quarter 2, Ons Jabeur is back. We're not too sure how close to fully fit she is, but she wouldn't be here if she didn't think she could win. So this again is stacked. Azarenka is in this quarter, Rybakina is in this quarter, Paula Badosa won 2 years ago, the Spanish lady who is rising, is back from injury as well, and Martic is better as well. So this is stacked again. Azarenka played brilliantly in the Australian Open. Rybakina is probably like the Australian Open, Rybakina should be one of the favourites here. She should be right behind Iga and Sabalenka in the betting, and she's a little bit out, but don't rule this lady out. And it'll be interesting to see, similar to Tsitsipas, have they recovered from that loss? How did it affect them? Do they feel like they can keep that form going? Is there a bit of hangover from it? So these are all the questions that you have, but there's no doubt about the form that they're in recently, and if they can get the mind right, they could beat anyone on any day. Quarter 3, our good friend Maria Sakkari She made the semi-finals last year, I think, or she was the semi-final or the final, and people have, I've talked about her before making a lot of semi-finals and finals and not quite getting over the line, and people have kind of lost faith in her to win a major now, or kind of they've seen her do that too many times. But I certainly wouldn't rule her out yet from winning a big tournament. She's tough, she's athletic, she's got a great game, and if she keeps knocking on the door, all you have to do is get over the line once. Look at Sabalenka there in the Australian Open. Once she got into the final, then it all clicked for her. So it would be no surprise, absolutely no surprise to me to see Maria Sakkari win a tournament. I wouldn't rule her out yet. So you've got Pliskova, Kudermetova, Ostapenko, and Jessica Pegula is in this. So again, the American crowd, like Coco Gauff, who's in the fourth quarter, they'll be big up by the crowd. And there's a great article in the Players Tribute that Jessica Pegula wrote during the Australian Open as well, actually about her mother through last year and this year. And if you get a chance, it's really worth the read. She's been going through a lot off the court, and her parents own the Buffalo Bills in the American football, and there was an incident there earlier this year that was kind of connected to that. So she's been going through a lot. We know she's tough out, she's playing great tennis, so it'd be wonderful to see her do well as well, and no doubt she will with the crowd backing her. And finally, the fourth quarter, we've got Coco Gauff, we've got Zhang, Bencic, Krejcikova, Vekic, and our good old friend Aryna Sabalenka. So interesting to see how Sabalenka moves on now from winning her first Grand Slam. Originally, I was thinking, I don't really expect her to do much else this year because she's kind of gotten over that line. There must be an area of relief there. But then I thought it's Sabalenka. The conventional wisdom does not apply here. So it'd be really interesting to see what kind of form she's in. She was playing a tournament. She was beat by Krejcikova recently as well, who stormed through the tournament. Be really interesting to see. Is that kind of killer serve, that killer form, and that hunger there to win. And you can understand if she drops off for a while. As I said, that's what I originally thought when she got over, because it was so emotional and it took so much. But this is the one who last year was couldn't serve properly, and here we are after talking about her as a Grand Slam champion. So you never know. You never rule her out. So it'll be interesting. But again, another strong. I feel like all four quarters in the women's are strong. So it's going to be very exciting. So as I said, we're starting off tomorrow night, and it'll be over Saturday and Sunday week. So Amazon Prime, we're covering it here in Europe anyway. The good thing about Amazon Prime, it will be through the night, but the good thing about Amazon Prime, you get to pick the games. There's not just one channel. If you have it, you get to pick the games, and if you don't, do give us a message and we can try and sort out some sort of viewing for you. We'll say no more there, but the good thing is, you can pick certain games. And I forgot to say in the women's draw, Badosa is back, and I forgot to say that, and Raducanu's back. Sorry, that's who I was thinking of. Raducanu's back. She got a wild card into Miami as well. So again, not sure what kind of shape she's in, but she's back. I forgot to. I'll be killed if I don't mention her. So there's the two draws. As I said, great to be back. It'll be on kind of the afternoon session, will be on around 7 o'clock in the evening here, and I think the night session will be around 2 a.m. in the morning. So more late nights for anyone who's interested. As I said, we'll be back either Thursday, Friday, and then at the weekend, and hope to put together some more different types of analysis while I have a bit more time as well. And great to have you back, and we'll see you in the desert.